Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here. And we have a lot to be worried about as far as censorship goes right now. A lot of people will say, well, people are waking up and the woke stuff is gone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is not the case. I think it's actually probably one of the most dangerous times yet for alternative medias right now. And right now we're seeing censorship coming directly from the Israeli government as they also pay people in alternative media $7,000 per post to promote the Israeli government's message, whatever that appears to be at this point in time. And people are taking the money. And we see people like Tommy Robinson, who is someone who claims to be very pro free speech and has gone to jail over this, also promoting this agenda. Of course, he was friends with Netanyahu. He says people don't really get it. If Israel falls to jihad, we all fall to jihad. To which one account that's well known responded, plus $7,000. This is happening as we see Tommy Robinson go and meet with the Israeli government in Jerusalem. This is as we see people get their tweets deleted on X for saying negative things about the Israeli government. In fact, Israel openly asking X to take down posts, as Netanyahu calls for censorship, saying that, he claims to be pro free speech, but then says anyone that criticizes Israel should be censored and silenced. As we see these people like Marco Rubio get caught being vetted by people like Larry Ellison, who's taking over TikTok right now, to see how pro Israel he is. Again, this guy did the same thing with Tony Blair. We are seeing a massive move to censor people straight directly from the Israeli government. This is subversion, by the way. TikTok is now censoring posts that mention AIPAC influence in the US. And there's so much more to this, all while they are rolling out a digital ID mandate in the UK, as well as a mandate for children coming up right away, as they roll out this Ukrainian global digital ID wallet, as they are rolling out the European CBDC, as well as the use of age verification systems. All these things are meant to censor people, as they're doing the same thing on the left with net zero. Again, we are facing a very dangerous time for alternative medias, as the mainstream alternative medias push the narrative forward, pretending to be anti-establishment. So we're going to get into this and more today. But my friends, again, we've never needed your help more than now. We are shadow banned on most alternative platforms, as well as basically unable to be seen on mainstream platforms. You guys can help keep us alive. And GoGetFunding.com, Patreon, and Subscribestar. Those are ways that you can help keep us up and running. If you pledge $4.99 a month or more on Patreon, Subscribestar, or X at World Alt Media, you will get exclusive content, including private videos that we could send you if you have questions. Again, thank you to those who have donated over time to our GoGetFunding.com campaign. I want to make sure that this campaign is many years old, so don't let the amount fool you. We are continuously bankrupted, and you guys are the only thing keeping us up and running, so we can't thank you enough. Of course, in the face of this censorship, there are ways that you can help support us. Again, we have Bitcoin. You could scan this on the screen here or donate through the link in the description, if you please. We have a Cointree link as well with different cryptocurrencies, including privacy coins. And we have BitChute and Rumble at World Alternative Media. We need your help on there. So make sure to go and subscribe, like, share, hit the notification bell on Rumble and BitChute at World Alternative Media. Whether you're watching on YouTube or Band.video, we're not going to be on YouTube much longer. On Band.video, we're not going to be around much longer because, of course, they have been taken over by, I think, The Onion at this point. So, again, we appreciate all the help you guys can give us. Let's get back into this. Again, it's all about making sure that we can continue to speak out and talk about these very important things that are happening when everyone is sitting on their hands. And what we're seeing in Israel right now, Israel is paying influencers $7,000 per post. Netanyahu referred this week to a community pushing out preferred messaging in U.S. media, and boy, are they making a princely sum. It says here, in a meeting dedicated to harnessing pro-Israel media energy on Friday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu alluded to a cohort of Israel's influencers, and I quote, "We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they are very important. Being paid by Israel to post on social media is also very lucrative, according to previously unreported recent documents. These influencers are likely being paid around $7,000 per post on social media, such as TikTok and Instagram, on behalf of Israel. Now, it's clear that we see a lot of people taking this money. It's clear that we also see Israel openly censoring people on X, making X take down people's tweets. This is from the North Star. It says, Twitter admits they deleted my tweets because Israel asked them to, then lies for the rationale. And Grok, the Twitter AI bot, said it was likely the very department of the child predator that we exposed and made the request. Of course, Sean King's talking about the Israeli citizen who was arrested in Vegas, who is a part of the Israeli government and intelligence agencies who was trying to molest kids and was sent over to Israel, where he lives expedition free, protected by the Israeli government, who also employed Jeffrey Epstein to get blackmail on people. Netanyahu calls for censorship. Israel is accused of starving children, pretty much the way that in the Middle Ages, Jews were accused of killing Christians killing Christian children for their blood. Well, there's not a lot of untruth to what happened in the Middle Ages. That's well known historically. But he says we have to do something about the algorithms at the social networks. This is all what Netanyahu says. Now, doing something about the algorithms, we already see that. We see that on mainstream as well as mainstream alternative platforms. And I want to point out that Israel has had a huge control over mainstream media for a very long time. Israeli government officials have been in the newsroom for a long time. Mossad and CIA, this is very well known, and we could go back to Operation Mockingbird, but now no one's watching mainstream media, are they? They're watching independent media. They're watching things online. And then you have people like Tim Pool secretly meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. You have these people in alternative media that people trust that are secretly meeting with Netanyahu. We have people like Ben Shapiro, who claims that the CIA is a great thing and that he supports Israel over the United States. He meets with Netanyahu. We have Jordan Peterson meeting with Netanyahu. These people are all calling out the woke. That's great. We need to call out the woke stuff. But that stuff's basically over. And now they're, basically shanghaiing people into this pro-Israeli narrative, which is incredibly woke. They're crying racism and anti-Semitism over absolutely everything. If you say, hey, I don't think it's good to murder children. It's the same thing as they said that you were pro-Islam and pro-jihad if you were against the Iraq war, even though much of the regions they were hitting were Kurdish. And of course, again, that was part of the Greater Israel Project too, because the Israeli government went to the media in the U.S. and the government in the U.S. The government itself told the United States government in front of the House, in front of committees, that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction and they need to attack Iraq following 9/11, which Israel claimed was good for their country, by the way. 9/11 was great for their country, they claimed. Bragged about it. Let's not forget the dancing Israelis. So again, this has been going on for a long time. And at that time, you're called pro-jihad if you were against going to war with Iraq or Afghanistan, which Israel pushed the United States into. And then fast forward to the situation with Iran, where Trump is clearly compromised, my friends, whether it's by children or adults or whatever, that he has been caught on video having sex with, covering up the Epstein tapes, covering up the Epstein lists and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty clear to me what's going on with that. Compromised, pushing in the chair for Netanyahu, taking the golden buzzer or beeper, and all the while sending Hellfire missiles to Israel to attack Iran, and then attacking Iran after Iran defends itself, which is, by the way, I'm not supporting Iran, but I want to point out here, I shouldn't even have to say that. Iran hadn't attacked a country in 200 years. The United States has attacked like 100 in the last 100 years, and they're the only ones to allegedly use nukes in Japan. So the virtue signaling is rich. But the subversion is obvious, and the media continues to push the narratives on both sides. And now we have the mainstream alternative media, as David Icke coined it. And David Icke is very right. He's a friend of our channel, and I very much support what he's been doing, trying to expose this. And people say, oh, you're being blackpilled, or you're being negative. What he's saying is absolutely accurate. We have people getting shanghaied by a new narrative network, basically utilizing the information that people would usually call alternative to, reel people in, much like one could say a limited hangout operation, tell part of the truth, but not the entirety of the truth in order to misdirect people from the entirety of the truth. And then all roads continue to lead to Rome, whether mainstream or so-called alternative. Brings you down the same path, and it all comes together at the end. little fork in the road that still brings you to the same place. Now, I believe this is exactly what's going on, and we see that. We see the promotion of these alternative medias. They all have the same narrative. Most of them are pro-Israel. Some of them aren't, but even those that aren't, many of them are still pushing the same narratives around what happened between 2020 and 2022. Many of them are still pushing the same narratives about, what we saw on 9/11. Many of them are still pushing the same narratives about radical Islam and all this kind of stuff, and just concentrating on the woke agenda, which is basically dead, beating a dead horse, basically, and concentrating on things that don't actually bring you to the entire truth. What we see with these narrative networks, unfortunately, misdirect us from what we can as individuals do. They push people to then go vote for politicians. Government is organized crime, and government begets government. Collectivism begets collectivism that goes in a circle forever. Left and right paradigm. Of course, for years, we saw in independent media the left-right paradigm being called out. Pepsi, Coke, one's red, one's blue. Both are bad for you. Both are basically run by the same company. And what about the third party? Oh, you mean RC Cola? Listen, we've known about this for a long time, and now people in alternative media are supporting one side or the other, left or right, Trump or Kamala, or, within the ranks, RFK and Trump and Marco Rubio and JD Vance for 2028 because Trump isn't doing the things that we thought he was going to do. Like, are you ever going to learn? JD Vance, who, by the way, got huge amounts of funding from Palantir and Peter Thiel to be groomed to be a future president and push in technocracy, which is a major tenet of what we're seeing in Israel as they use AI to determine who gets credits, who gets food rations. I believe the same thing is going to be used in the US. I think that's a litmus test. I want to stop rambling so much and get to this a little bit more. US lawmakers introduced thought police bill to strip US citizens of passports over Israel criticism. This is after Marco Rubio has already visas for this. The First Amendment lasted 249 years until Israel decided it had to go. I don't even think it's lasted that long. I don't think the First Amendment has actually been really utilized for a very long time, but nonetheless. Marco Rubio, by the way, got essentially interrogated for hours on end by the new U.S. TikTok owner who also funded Tony Blair, Larry Ellison, who was part of Stargate, which Trump helped with $500 billion to bring in AI technology and warfare and mRNA cancer vaccines and stuff like that. So again, this is that guy. He basically put Marco Rubio through the ringer, which is kind of funny because Marco Rubio is photographed giving arms to ISIL and ISIS back in, I think, 2011 or 2012 with John McCain and Lindsey Graham. So it's pretty clear who he bows to. And he ensured that Marco Rubio was as pro-Israel as can be. There's some debate right now whether Larry Ellison is the richest man in the world or Elon Musk. Both technocrats, though. And now TikTok, who was just, the U.S. owner, just bought up, as we were talking about, Larry Ellison. TikTok is now censoring posts that mention AIPAC influence in the United States. I've seen my post taken down for that as well. Israel paying up to $4.1 million to brainwash Americans with VR, target churches with geofencing ads. New FARA filings reveal that the Israeli government is paying an American firm up to $4.1 million to brainwash Christians with a virtual reality October 7th experience. Wow. And target them with geofencing propaganda ads at their churches. The millions are being paid to conservative activist Chad Schnitger's new firm, Show Faith by Works, according to FARA disclosures. Show Faith expects to receive more than $3.25 million over 5 months, paid in equal installments, routed through the global ad giant Havas Media, while also floating an ideal additional budget of $835,000 for equipment and expansion, JTA reports. This is absolutely insane. And again, this is also happening By the way, as we see people get arrested on college campuses and university campuses who are legally in the United States for criticizing Israel, and Trump is trying to push forward things that would actually get you imprisoned and deported, no matter if you have legal citizenship in the United States. If you attack Israel, if you call out Israel, they call it anti-Semitism. It's the same bullshit that we saw with the left, with the climate stuff. Oh, climate denial should get you deported or put you in prison. And in fact, RFK Jr. once had that view many years ago that you should be arrested if you don't believe in the climate agenda. And also, let's not forget about the trans stuff, which is we're seeing that hate speech legislation in Canada. We're seeing that in the United Kingdom. People are getting arrested and thrown in jail. Don't think it's going to be any different with this. The left and the right equally love to censor and cancel. There's no consistency in it because you can't be consistent in an inconsistent paradigm. Left, right, oh, there's some nuances to it. It's still collectivism and it still leads to the exact same end scenario. And power grows. Collectivism begets collectivism. The tumor never stops growing if you keep adding toxins to it. Top pro-Israel TPUSA donor terminated support for Kirk in days before death, sources say. Max Blumenthal's been talking about this. Israel captures hundreds of activists attempting to bring food into Gaza, including American citizens. This is another example of the censorship of food, which will be used against you in the future through the utilization of food rations, using digital IDs, social credit, in your little 15-minute cities. Israel continues bombing Gaza despite Trump's order to immediately stop. They turned around the peace deal at the last second, and Trump just went along with it. And there is a continuous raid on Gaza right now, despite them saying we're not bombing. Like, they call ceasefires despite bombing, and they say that doesn't go against our ceasefire, like what they're doing in Lebanon. We have a ceasefire with Lebanon, but we continue bombing them every day, but that doesn't violate our ceasefire. Like, these people are, it's a double think. It's so insane. And where is the alternative media? UK bill to create a digital ID for children has only one reading in Parliament left to pass. This is after they passed the recent digital ID legislation with mandatory digital IDs in the UK under the guise of stopping immigration, which Israel brags they're the major cause of sending migrants to the West. But then, like, attach this to the fact that we just did a video about 14 days ago called Israel Shuts Down Internet, talking about how Israel is indeed shutting down internet to people, closing people off from access to the internet so that they can't post videos online, so that they can't keep up with family members, so they can't ask for help, and they can't see what's happening, and people in the West don't see what's happening because it's a censorship program, which is coming to a place near you. So you have the internet being shut down in Israel. You have these censorship platforms being pushed forward. You have them paying people to in alternative media to promote Israel, $7,000 a post, which a lot of grifters will jump on. That's why we're totally independently funded. We need your help. But again, I couldn't sleep at night if I ever did anything like this. You have Tommy Robinson pushing this stuff, who, again, I believe is a great example. Like, he works with Israel. Israel brags about sending migrants to the West, causes a mass migration. Then we have Tommy Robinson in the UK saying, hey, we need to stop this mass migration, which I agree, the mass migration is terrible, but problem, reaction, solution, repeat isn't the way to do this. And it leads to riots in the streets in the UK and massive division and demoralization and people attacking each other, and which leads to civil war, which is all manufactured, which leads, of course, to the manufactured emergency order declarations, which allows them to use these digital IDs against you and censor your every thought. It's not just censoring, what you say. It's censoring your ability to eat food, to access things, and to have any freedom and free will. Will they throw you in prison? Very likely in the future. Will they put you in a digital gulag? Even more likely. And they'll give you credits if you snitch on your neighbor, and they will give you, with those credits, maybe a steak or a pizza, which you won't be allowed to eat unless you comply. Otherwise, you'll be eating Soylent Green. This is the World Economic Forum's blueprint. Inside Ukraine's digital identity experiment, the world is watching. Ukraine may be the test lab, but the blueprint is being quietly shipped abroad. They are rolling out these digital IDs in Ukraine, but I also want to mention they're also doing it in Russia. They're also doing it in China. They're doing it in Taiwan. They're doing it in the US. They're doing it with biometrics in Mexico that are being rolled out right now. As I've reported in a recent video, I'm not going to go into all of it right now. They're doing it in Canada, but you could see our video called Breaking Mandatory Digital ID Launched from 4 days ago. I urge people to check that out because it goes into what exactly that means and how it's being rolled out. Also, check out our recent video on the global CBDC rollout because it also goes into this. Every country, well, 193 countries are rolling out digital IDs, CBDCs, and all just happen to sign on to the United Nations Pact for the Future in September of 2024, which allows them to the government to shut down your bank account under emergency orders, force you into food rations, and force you into a social credit system. So they've already done this. So that's the ultimate censorship. If you have if you have de-Googled rather your phone, the EU's age verification rules will exclude you from using all apps for all services. Now, that's what the EU is doing. That's on the left. On the right, in the US, they're bringing in the age verification online to stop children from watching pornography, which again is a good thing. We don't want them watching that. However, it's a Trojan horse to get everyone to give up their identity to use the internet, and something that actually Obama came up with first back in 2009, internet IDs. Now Trump and DeSantis and others are using that same method, but for a different reason. Just like they're using biometrics instead of for the climate, they're using biometrics instead of for the hate speech against trans. They're using it in order to track migration, which they're then going to snowball to using against everyone else, just like they're using these digital IDs in the UK under the guise of stopping migration. It's just typical. And you have people on the right saying we need to stop radical leftist viewpoints and shut them up because they're violent. I agree that the people on the left tend to be more violent because they're more collectivist, because they're bigger government people. However, people on the left are doing the same thing with the right, and no one's consistent in it. Of course, German politician Olaf Scholz says that we have freedom of speech in Europe. Everyone can say what he wants, even if he's a billionaire. What we do not accept is if this is supporting extreme right positions. Now, that's not free speech. And if you say, oh, well, after Charlie Kirk was shot, we saw Trump saying, well, maybe Charlie wouldn't believe that hate speech doesn't exist now after what happened. No, you don't just get to emotionally change your views on what is a fact, which is free speech is unfettered free speech, absolute free speech. But we have people, again, falling into camps. We have the left and the right both pushing different ideas that all lead to the same goal. And then you have mainstream media pushing a narrative, and much of that includes war. You have alternative media, which used to be aware of the left-right paradigm and aware of the crimes of war, now pushing war on different sides, whether they're pro-Russia or anti-Russia, pro-Ukraine or anti-Ukraine, whether they're pro-Israel or anti-Israel. The idea is that across the board, it still somehow leads to politics being an answer, which it isn't. And of course, it leads to using stolen funds, because taxation is theft and extortion, to then use against, people that they don't like. Antifa is a terrorist organization. Well, I agree that they are a horrible organization, but putting them on the terrorist list allows the government to kill them warrantlessly under the NDAA, just like they were trying to put extreme far right wingers on the terrorist list for years, and they did in many cases, which allowed them to be warrantlessly arrested. Now they armed and funded cartels for years. Now they're on the terrorist list. Now they could do airstrikes in Mexico and in Venezuela after the CIA was heavily involved in creating the problem in the first place. And they armed and funded all these terrorists in the Middle East, including Israel was involved in that as well. And that includes Hamas. And now they're like, now we have justification to go after them because they're terrorists, so we could bomb them. I mean, it's just, people don't seem to see the nuance of it and the reality of it. They want to focus on Trump versus Kamala, Gavin Newsom versus, DeSantis or Marco Rubio. Pete Hegseth, what a cool guy. He's bringing militarism back. Department of War, so cool. Where the fuck is the alternative media? Where is the alternative media right now? Falling for the tricks of politics that they once called out. I say that some are paid off, some are complete shills, some are just useful idiots. Some are grifters or just following the line of fire, essentially trying to ensure themselves success and viewership. And then there's those of us out here, like myself and like a few others out there, James Corbett, I believe, Dr. Andrew Kaufman, Dan Dixon, Press for Truth, others that are just like, hey, we're outside here. Derek Bros, David Icke, Jeff Berwick. We're out here. We're not following along with this stuff. And then they throttle us in the algorithm. They throttle us across the board, don't allow us to be seen. And then people say, well, maybe it's because you're just unpopular and you're so black-pilled. When I am actually able to reach people, when the algorithm's open for me, World Alternative Media was the fastest growing alternative media in the world. And we haven't changed our views since back then, back in 2017, 2018, when we had that honor. Now, we're throttled and everyone's like, well, maybe you're boring and no one wants to watch you. We're just trying to be consistent because it's not all about sitting on our hands and making us all feel better. Like, oh, everything's going to be fine because Trump is going to fix things, or RFK is going to fix things, or Tulsi Gabbard is going to fix things. Putin is going to be the world leader and is going to take down that corrupt Ukraine. It's like, it's not as simple as that. That is what keeps us on our hands waiting to be saved. And that is what will be the downfall of civilization, all by design, to force us into emergency orders, to bring in technocracy, to bring in digital IDs and social credits and food rations, which they're destroying the food supply right now, grid rations, cybersecurity allowances, 15-minute cities, all these different things. And that is the ultimate censorship, the censorship of free will, which is the ultimate goal of all of this, is to destroy the basis of humanity itself, individualism, free will, freedom. And they're doing a damn good job of it, because I'm watching alternative media and they don't seem that alternative to me. They sound like Fox or CNN back in like the year 2003. And just because people are waking up a little bit, they're like, okay, let's move a little bit inwards and allow people to discuss some of these things, Bilderberg and all this kind of stuff, and, false flags and all that, but then twist their arm a little bit and misdirect them this way to keep them still looking at politics as a solution to those very things. And even though it's quite clear that those politicians are not just controlled, but they are the tool that is used to bring in this order. Again, a world order and a national order isn't much different, except for a national order is just smaller, but it's the same concept. A bunch of people forced all in one group to bow to the same entity, to the same power structure. And, 51% owns the 49%, controls the 49%. And again, never underestimate the power of stupid people in big numbers. So I see this happening, and I see this constant dependence on politics as a solution. And that is what alternative media is pushing these days, much like mainstream for so long. And it's, of course, a lot more is being spoken about now, and I'm ranting here, but it's just so frustrating to me. A lot more is being spoken of right now that is honest and truthful. People are more awake. That is exactly where they corner you and force you into little pigeonholes and little cliques, which I believe is what's happening right now. And it keeps us forever on our knees, dependent on fear and chaos to bring us into the next order. We, as World Alternative Media, reject this premise, reject the grifting. We've turned down. I've turned down $1 million contract because I want to sleep at night. Yet these idiots are taking $7,000 a post. I turned down $1 million contract and went bankrupt. And I'm completely dependent on you as individuals helping support us here at World Alternative Media. So, alas, we have our gogetfunding.com campaign in the description. We have Patreon and Subscribestar. Anything helps to help keep us alive. I mean, again, I don't want people to think we're making a ton of money here. If you look at our profile here, this is April 25th, 2025. We got $229 from Subscribestar. June 20th, 2025, we got 120. August 14th, we got 134. September 25th, we got 132. I don't want people to think that we're just, and I so appreciate everyone who's helped support us, but I don't want anyone to think that we're just like rolling in money here. We have almost nothing. My bank accounts were just shut down in Canada. That's one of the main reasons I'm in Canada. Second time in a year. And it's all the money I have. And you guys are the only thing keeping us up and running. So again, Patreon, Subscribestar, and exit at World Alt Media. If you pledge $4.99 a month or more on those platforms, you'll get exclusive content, including personalized video messages if you want. We have a PayPal address, ancientwonderstelevision@gmail.com. We have a Bitcoin address that you could scan on the screen here, or find in the description of the video in text form. We have a Cointree link with a bunch of different cryptocurrencies that you could donate in if you please, including privacy coins. We have a Teespring store with a bunch of merchandise, which helps support us as well. And of course, we have a lot of affiliates. Heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods, which I highly recommend people get on right now in the face of these digital IDs. It's non-GMO and organic kits. If you use code WAM, WAM, you will get 5% off as well as free shipping on these items. So I highly recommend people go and check that out. Very important going forward. If you don't have any of these survival kits ready, you are in a world of hurt going forward. But I mean, it's all up to you. We have a bunch of other options in the description. Wave Watch 2.0, 1100 plus frequencies on there. Helps support you in the face of these cell phone towers and everything else. 1100 plus frequencies. If you use code WAM, WAM, you will get $100 off on that. Those links are in the description. All those help support us. firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/ to buy physical gold and silver. Has to be that exact link. It's in the description. Work with Mark Gonzalez, our good friend who's very much awake. Get a free consultation and a complimentary investors package. Get out of that CBDC system. And of course, very importantly, subscribe to us on Rumble and BitChute at World Alternative Media. We cannot survive without you guys going on those platforms and supporting us. Again, like we are on band.video right now, but it's about to go down because Alex Jones obviously is dealing with that lawsuit, and The Onion, it appears, is about to take over. So we hope people go and find us on Rumble and BitChute at World Alternative Media. We're also on Odyssey. And thank you to everyone who has helped support us. Again, it means a lot to us. We are facing off against most likely the most dangerous period of time for alternative medias. And you guys are the solution to make sure that that truth continues to get out and people continue to question everything and not fall into these little popularity groups. So again, thank you. You can find us on Telegram as well at World Alternative Media. We're on Hive, Steemit, and Vigilante.tv at Josh Sigurdsson. And we're on the Bad Guys TikTok and Instagram, World Alternative Media, Twitter and Getter at World Alt Media, and all the major podcast platforms, except for Spotify, where, of course, we're banned. Hit that like button, share on social media, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you have not yet already. And as always, my friends, live freely, live by example. This is Josh Sigurdsson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.